All right, let's spend some time today talking about Hilliard's tile and grout cleaner. As you can imagine from the name, this cleaner is typically used on ceramic tile and the grout that is the joints attaching that. It can also be used on things like fiberglass or partitions or shower stalls, different hard plastic composites, and chrome. Just a side note for anything chrome or faucets of any sort, you have to know that they're real chrome, not just kind of a chrome coating, like those plasticky chrome coatings or painted on coatings, because it will eat that away. So you want to make sure it's actual chrome before you use it on a faucet or around a faucet. It could be used in a stainless steel sink because of the acid, but we have CSP in our arsenal, so you probably would not really ever use that. So typically we're going to stick with tile and grout as our application for this. If anyone has used it, the smell tells you pretty quickly that it is made up of acids. There are also alcohol type solvents. So ethanol, a form of ethanol, which is a form of alcohol, is one of the solvents in this chemical makeup. And what those do is they work together to kind of break up the oils and the greases and the mineral deposits that rest on tile, especially in tile showers or on floors that are around sinks or around toilets, things like that, where that buildup gets a little bit heavier. This chemical is really designed to break those up to get them nice and clean for us. Okay. It's definitely a hazardous chemical. So it's not one you're going to breathe in. It's not one you're going to want to get on your hands or your arms or in your eyes. You don't want to spill this one and touch it. You want to wear gloves at all times with this one, just to keep yourself safe. Okay. You can dilute this with warm or cold water. Neither is going to work better than the other. It's not going to hurt the chemical makeup of this one at all. But sometimes, warm water, we feel like it cleans better, but, anytime you start causing this stuff to evaporate or get into the air, the more harmful it is for us to breathe in. So potentially cold water in that instance is going to make it, we don't want to create a steam with really hot water that then causes us to breathe it in. So either direction is okay. It also depends on your application, like where you're going to use it. How big is the shower stall? This one's a walk-in, so there's lots of air movement. It has a fan installed in the shower, and so I can turn that fan on and I can keep the air moving, okay? As far as application, this chemical has a dilution rate of variability depending on the surface and the application of it. So, light cleaning, if you're going to do a shower regularly with tile and grout cleaner, you can dilute that 4 ounces per gallon, which is 1 ounce per quart, pretty efficiently, and use it regularly for regular cleaning. Now, if we go into a top to bottom and it's a really dirty shower that's not been cleaned in a significant amount of time, then your dilution rate comes to about 20 ounces per gallon or 5 ounces per quart, okay? And a really good way to apply it, or one thing I really like to do, is to apply it and allow it to soak, allow it to have some time to do its work before I go in with my scrub brushes, okay? So I will take my bucket and I will take my flat brush that you saw, my deck brush or a flat brush, you can just get those at Menards, and apply it with that, get everything wet and kind of start to work it in just a little bit. And then I'll allow it to rest while I do something else before I come back and actually scrub it again with the chemical from the bucket. And then you can use a small grout brush, you can use the flat brush, you can use your rags to rinse. There's a couple options for rinsing when you're done. I've used my bucket and just kind of splashed it on the walls. I do that a lot in this shower just because it's a big walk-in shower, so I have a lot of space to do that without splashing myself. Otherwise, turn on their shower head. If they have a removable shower head, you can spray the surface down with it. That works really well. Or you can just get a fresh, clean bucket of water and use your rag and rinse down the walls a couple times. And then I always like to go back in and try to dry it a little bit just to keep it from running down the walls and continue to leave streaks or anything. And you don't have to perfectly dry the surface. You can if you're doing a top to bottom and you want to make sure it's beautiful when you leave. But for regular cleaning, you wouldn't necessarily have to dry the entire surface, but I would give it an initial dry before I moved on to the next, okay? So if you're choosing not to use the bucket method, there is an option to use a spray bottle. And I do this quite often, but here's your warning. You must have a steady stream of spray out of the spray bottle. The first saw that you saw me spray, that was definitely a mist. And so what happens there is it makes the particles coming out of the spray bottle so fine that they aerate, and then we breathe them in, and that's really bad for our lungs when you're talking acid. So if you're going to apply with a spray bottle like this, you're actually going to turn that little knob on the end of the sprayer all the way until it almost falls off, and you get a nice stream of water or chemical coming out from that spray bottle. That's an acceptable way to do that if you have a big area again, and you're going to have a lot of room for air movement so that you can not have to worry about breathing this into your lungs, okay? So I apply it again to the surface of this floor and I allow it to rest a little bit. If you can see, I added a little bit of water to the surface just to make sure I have enough moisture on that surface to really get into these grooves and really start working hard, okay? This is a long-handled grout brush. It works great for floors. It gives me the opportunity to not have to be on my hands and knees in amongst this chemical, trying to scrub everything up. So I'll use this long-handled grout brush, again, it's just from Menards, to kind of really get into the grooves. This floor has a unique tile pattern. It's actually brick flooring. And so my grout lines are very different than just a square tile. So it takes a lot longer to get into those grooves, but that's where this scrub brush kind of comes in handy. Again, when you see it's a unique floor. So when you see the before and after pictures here at the end, it's not as amazing as it is in person because this is an unsealed floor. So this is a rustic cabin and everything is unsealed on the floor. And so the tile and the grout pick up all the dirt and the grime, and it's really hard after 20 years of living here to get it out. But it does always look significantly better when I use the tile and the grout to get just at least the surface stuff out of the grout lines there. So yeah, again, I applied this one with the spray bottle, but you could do this with the bucket method as well. Both work just fine. And then you scrub that grout really good, and then I come back with my flat brush, and then I scrub the surface of the floor after I've gotten into the grout lines really good. And I'm just doing one small area of her kitchen just for demonstration purposes. You'll be able to see also that I forgot to wear gloves, so I apologize for that. But I am trying really hard not to touch the chemical with this. So gloves are very important, but also knee pads. I don't wear knee pads regularly, but I know we have them at the office. And so wearing knee pads allows you to get down on your hands and knees on the floor with gloves without damaging your clothing or the chemical getting on your skin and risking a burn. Now, as far as cleaning up on this floor, she has a floor scrubber that I use to clean this up. And so it's a little bit easier for me. But if you're going to want to use a mop and you're going to want to, wipe the initial up with the mop, and then you're going to rinse. You're going to come back with clean, wet mop heads, and you're going to rinse that surface really good so we don't leave the tile and grout on the surface. We don't want that acid to continue to work into the lines, into the grooves while we're not there. We want to make sure we rinse really, really well with this chemical. So it's great. I really enjoy tile and grout. I think it has a lot of potential to help you in top to bottoms and areas where we are trying to get grout lines clean, kind of a once a year cleaning for some of our corporate businesses maybe. If you section off your areas and do a little bit at a time, you can slowly clean the tile and the grout within your regular time frames if you just take it little chunks at a time. I know up at the corporate office I used to clean, they had tile in their entryways and there was multiple entryways, but I would just take every few months I would carve in myself a little extra half an hour and I would work that through. Work on some of that tile and grout and kind of just slowly make my way around the building. It wasn't necessarily very obvious when they came back that I did it, because I did it very slowly and a little at a time, but I was able to work that into my regular cleaning shifts, and it made a big difference on how the building looked overall. So hopefully this taught you how to use this, and if you have any other questions, call the office.